Welcome back to Ask Me Anything Housing. We got some great experts. The phone lines are open. And before we get to that, though, I want to touch on a hot topic here. The role of investors in inflating, in some cases, asset prices or home prices. Lauren, how you say that in the condo market, investors are a dominant force.
Yeah, they have been. I mean, historically, you can think of investors as one of the funders of condo development in the past, say, 15 years, in that very often an end user isn't going to know 5 years out that they'd like this one bedroom, to our last caller, this one bedroom at Yonge and Eglinton. And so it's been investors speculating that they believe that value would go up. But what that means is they've provided the capital for the developer to be able to build the building. And then 5 years down, sometimes they have sold those units to end users who are now in market and ready to buy them. So sometimes investors get a bad rap, especially in the pre-construction world. However, they're an important part of creating that. They truly have been enabling the development of a lot of these units.
But you say that one particular problem has emerged, that the cost of owning a unit has gone up so much, but rents are capped.
Correct.
In Ontario, anyway.
Absolutely. In Ontario, and then especially in cities like Toronto, where, I mean, right now the cost of ownership in an average condo is going to be in the $5,000 range, and the cost of rent is going to be in that kind of $2,600 range. So where we're seeing this run up in the number of available condos. I believe there's about 7,000 condos available on market today in Toronto.
For sale? For sale.
A lot of those are the investors, and a lot of them are the mom and pop investors who wanted to buy one and get into real estate investing. And right now the rents just don't cover their costs.
And it's tough as well. They have to pay whatever maintenance fee gets slapped on them, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can plan for these things. And I think the people that are in the most trouble are, if you bought multiple, and especially if you took short-term debt. I mean, it was challenging. It's been a challenging time. But those investors that took long-term view and set themselves up financially, they're okay. But a lot of these one-bedroom condo holders are in hot water right now.
Ron Butler, I'm sorry to viewers outside the Toronto region. We're being a bit Toronto-centric right here. But you think this problem is particularly acute in the 416 area, Toronto, and then the surrounding region?
Severely acute in 416. We're going to have a very large group of real estate investors who are going to discover the find out side of the famous social media graph, where they're entering into that stage right now. The math just doesn't math. There's no sense. It particularly is worse for new construction condos who are just completing in the next 18 months, where there's a building across the street from them. They paid $1,250 a square foot. The building across the street from them is on sale for resale at $950 a square foot. And they are still going to be, no matter how much rates come down, we don't expect rates to go much below the 4% mark. Even at the 4% mark, they're running massive negative cash flow when they take possession of the condo versus the rents that they could get. So it's going to be some sort of a bloodbath in the next 18 months.
Bob Dugan of CMHC. Lauren made a really interesting observation there that these investors, some of them mom and pop, and some of them in trouble, have been a crucial part of the ecosystem for building condos in the first place.
I absolutely agree with that. I also think that these investors are a crucial part of rental supply. And so I think, they aren't always speculators just speculating on price increases. A lot of these investors have long-term views and want to enter in and become landlords. And it is a difficult environment right now when, as was just said, the math doesn't always work on these investments. And so that's one of the key challenges because, in Canada, most of the rental market, about 95% of it, is privately supplied rental. So 95% of rental units are owned by an investor. Sometimes that's large investors that buy purpose-built rental buildings. In other cases, it's smaller investors that buy condos. But we need investors. And so the fact that the math isn't working for them makes this very challenging because it's part of the supply solution, right? We need more supply, and to get more supply, we need investors to come in and take that risk on housing. And if the math isn't working, we might not get the supply response we need, particularly in rental, which is so important because home ownership is a nice to have, and if you can't afford home ownership, you can fall back on the rental market. But if you can't afford the rental market, where do you turn? We need supply, and we need investors to get that supply going.
Lauren, we've heard a few stories over the past while, not just investors, but actual purchasers of real estate, and they plan to live in it, that they bought into a project, they thought that was the price paid, but the developers turned around and said, sorry, you're going to have to pay all this extra money. My costs have gone up so much.
I think so. Admittedly, I don't do a lot of pre-construction sales, and so I can't speak to specific buildings. But I think what we have seen is a number of buildings being canceled, and so not only did the smaller investors do some speculative buying back in 2019 and 2020, but when some newer developers, smaller developers, and big names that we hear about, kind of got a little over their skis, and got into, really, if you had short-term loans on any of your projects, they became quite tough to pencil. And so I think what's been really devastating for some purchasers of pre-construction is if you bought something at a 2019, 2020 price, even though prices have softened now, they're not back to kind of pre-COVID pricing. And so they're now, if the project gets canceled, yes, they will get their deposit back most of the time, but they won't be able to rebuy the same product.